Hey NAI football fans, Cory Thorpe here with another edition of the NAIAFBALL podcast powered by AdCraft USA, your custom apparel, merch, and uniform experts. Our friends at AdCraft have been with us for many years now. They've run web stores for us multiple times. These guys are NAI fans and family who are experts in the apparel and merchandise world. AdCraft allows you to take the hassle out of ordering. Let their knowledgeable design and customer service staff handle everything from hosting the store online, shipping the product, and helping your customers so you can get back to the game. Find them online at adcraftusa.com. All right, NAI football fans, this is Cory Thorpe back with another edition of the NAIAF Ball podcast powered by AdCraft Merch and Custom Apparel and Merch. I swear I'll get their name right one of these days. I love those guys. They're great folks. Just got a new jacket from them. Listen, guys, I was at the national championship game. It was cold. I had on a Bethel of Kansas sweater, and I was getting the strangest looks. And so I came back and I said, guys, I got to get a jacket. Not only did they send me a jacket, they sent me a nice tote bag too. These guys are the best. They're the bomb diggity. We love them. But you didn't come here to hear me just go on and on about our sponsors. You came to hear me talk to Big Shadow Mike Jasper, head coach of the Bethel Wildcats. Coach, I don't think you're ever going to get rid of that nickname.
I can't, Cory. It stuck with me.
Heck yeah, Coach. Man, what a it really is a good year for Bethel. I know it doesn't end the way you want it to, but man, that regular season, that's a really nice feather in your cap. But you know, for going through the season, you take down Lindsey Wilson, you take down Georgetown, you take down Reinhardt. You know, really just a fantastic season. And at halftime of your first game in the playoffs, you're up 17-7. You're probably feeling good. Kaiser is a running team. Yeah, they can come back, but yeah, you kind of feel good. And then the second half starts. Talk to me, Coach.
Well, first off, Cory, it was a great year. Proud of our guys. Phenomenal, historic season for Bethel history. So I'm proud of what we were able to accomplish. But at the end of the year, there's only one truly happy coach, and that wasn't us this year. Going into halftime, I wouldn't say that I felt good. We were not executing to the best of our ability, and Doug Soche always has those guys ready to play. Kaiser was a phenomenal football team. We won't get into the ranking system and all that, but I believed if there was one team in the playoffs that was comparable to us, it was Kaiser. And I knew that going into it once we knew who we were going to face that first week. So at no point in time did I feel like that game was over until that final horn blew. And that's the type of team that Kaiser is, and they continue to show it throughout the playoffs, the way they play Morningside and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it didn't end the way we needed to. I think we needed to punch the ball in on the 1 yard line, and maybe that solidifies the game, puts that nail in the coffin. But we didn't get it done, and they did.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of going forward on 4th and 1 generally, and folks might tell me I'm crazy and I'm uh, too aggressive on that. But man, if you can't make 3rd and 4th and 1, man, you then you don't deserve to win that game off that. You know,
Absolutely.
you gotta have those. But I looking back at the schedule, and I'm just floored. I mean, I gotta admit, I don't think I had Bethel. I think I had y'all in the top 25, but I know I didn't have you that high in there. And man, just what a great season! You win at Georgetown, at Lindsey Wilson. Man, you had to go play at the two toughest teams in your conference against. Look, Lindsey had a great defense, and you're not going to get anything past Chris Oliver. So, talk to me about your road warriors there.
We knew it was going to be a tough opponent. I mean, people will argue with me. I think the Mid South, top to bottom, is the toughest conference in NAIA football. Just the caliber, of teams and the caliber of coaches that we have here, and then obviously the landscape, the kids that we're recruiting, they're just, I mean, phenomenal programs. So we knew it was going to be a tough schedule. Outside of Kaiser, I think we had the toughest schedule in NAIA. Chris Oliver is, legendary already. He's still, stacking them on. And then Phil Kleckler is a phenomenal defensive mind. So I knew Lindsey Wilson wasn't going to miss much of a beat at all, which they really didn't. So we, our guys, it's a credit to the kids. They were locked in this year. They knew the task at hand with a grueling schedule ahead. They came in the fall, locked in, ready to go, and built on what we had built in the spring. So there really wasn't it was one of those seasons where it really wasn't a point in time outside of Reinhardt, because you can't, James Miller and those guys too. Reinhardt's a force to be reckoned with. We had to go on the road and play them, and probably it's always our most physical and toughest matchup. James is a heck of a coach. He's a tough ball coach, and his program reflects that. So honestly, I think going to Reinhardt kind of set the tone. Getting kicked in the teeth that first drive offensively for them kind of set our defensive pads like, hey, it ain't going to be a cakewalk. And then, toughen that game out. And then, figuring out how to execute against really good defenses served us well going into Georgetown. And then obviously, Campbellsville, people, overlooked that game. Campbellsville, we came out and we were rocking against them. And Coach Perry, he had Perry Thomas had those guys rocking and rolling, and they were able to add some adversity to our road test as well. So going into Lindsay, we felt fairly confident that we were battle tested and ready to go.
Well, Coach, I'm going to step away from Bethel here for a moment to talk about another program it's going to be near and dear to both of our hearts, and just talking about the kind of the mini NAI coaching staff they're building over at North Alabama with Coach Dearman. There's their head coach, and then I believe the special teams coordinator is a Bethel guy as well. Defensive coordinator comes from Marion. They've got a couple of GAs that are NAI background. We're going to have to root for North Alabama next year, aren't we?
No doubt, big time, man. I love those guys, and another Bethel guy that's fired up, and he'll be watching this is Hunter Flippo. He's from Florence. He was one of Dearman's old linemen here at Bethel. So they're fired up. I can't wait to watch those guys and watch Dearman restore that roar over there. And I'm fired up for him. And Luke is a dear friend of mine. We played ball together, Luke Roth, and I'm really excited. And I love that Brent. He did that he got some NAIA guys, because we can coach some ball. And I don't think people really realize the level of coaching that actually goes on at this level. It is for the ones that are doing it the right way. You wear a lot of hats, and we coach some darn good football and some darn good football players. And I mean, if you don't believe that, you can look at Jordan Lanes and the move that he just made. I mean, Jordan is a phenomenal football coach, and I love what Matt Campbell's doing there with that D3 model. I think everybody on that staff, Jordan was telling me, either played or coached Division III football, and that's what's got to happen. I love coaching NAI football, but if somebody desires to go to that NCAA, that FBS level, it's going to take guys like Jordan and guys like Brent to reach down and really pull these great coaches up. But at the end of the day, I think NAI has a phenomenal product as well.
Look, I mean, the reality of the situation is if someone, I mean, heck, even someone who's usually on the bottom end of a Power 5 conference, if Wake Forest comes calling, and for most of these coaches in the NAI, look, if Wake Forest comes calling and says, hey, we have a on-field coaching position for you, we want you. When do I start? Is the response to that? I mean, that's nothing against the NAI, but that is the quality of coach that you can make that jump and still be all right with that.
Oh, absolutely. I think at that point, I never compare the actual coaching ability or the opportunity because we're all blessed. We're
Mm-hmm.
coaching football. You're doing what you love, and you're extremely blessed, whatever level you're doing it at. And whether it be high school, middle school, you're impacting your lives and you're coaching football, you're blessed. But from a financial standpoint, I think, yeah, if any Wake Forest comes calling, they're offering you mid six figures, you're going to take it to take care of your family. I don't think it really has anything to do with the NCAA product versus the NAIA product.
Yeah, no, I totally agree on. Yeah, you got to take care of your family and cement your legacy. Not only, uh, at that point, it's not only about football. You're cementing your legacy for generations to come of your family and putting and changing your family tree. And that's all there is to it about that. Let's get back to on the field real quick. You've got a host of folks coming back on the offensive side of the football for you, whether it be Joaquin Collazo at quarterback, who really had a nice season, 29 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Anytime you can be almost 30 touchdowns with and not scratch double digit picks, we'll be all right with that. 9.3 yards per attempt is real nice. Tells me you're pushing the ball down the field, which is kind of easy when you got folks like J.D. Dixon and Avant Burris that are coming back here, along with Terrence Roberts in the backfield. And of course, we can't go and not mention the O line. You've got a first team All Mid South offensive lineman Jackson Surratt coming back to anchor that line. Talk to me about your offense and getting even better in 2023.
I'm excited about it. Joaquin is he's a much better leader than he is a football player, and he's a darn good football player. So I'm excited to have that. He's smart. Obviously, takes care of the football, gets our offense in the right plays. He's a quarterback that we can trust to do that. But it's like this week, the first week back, we're at the convention, and I get a call. Hey, coach, can you call security? And I call security. Hey, what's going on? Hey, yeah, your quarterback wants to get out on the field. He's got about 30 players with him. He's that type of a leader. So obviously, I told him, yeah, open the gate. Starting quarterback wants the field open, you open it. But he's coming back. JD will be back. Joaquin, and going back to that, those guys. It's funny. He had such a great year passing the ball, and I think what was wild is he's the first one to tell you we need to run the ball better. So he's very unselfish in that fact, and we'll get T. Rob going. And Avant Burris is a twitchy, stellar athlete. JD, another phenomenal leader, dynamic football player. Glad, he was injured half the season. So excited to see what he does now that he's back full go and we can keep him healthy next year. And then Surratt, we're excited about it. We had some young offensive linemen that are going to be back, and Dylan Morales will be back. Amir Johnson, Logan Davis was a transfer from Warner that suffered an injury. So he didn't really play at all this year. And he's a starter out of our league. So excited to get the O-line going and being able to run the ball a lot better. But definitely a lot of dynamic athletes.
Defense is a little bit of a different story there. Looking at it, you'll lose two defensive linemen that were all conference, and Daryl Middleton and Nick Andrews. You'll lose a couple of all first team all conference defensive backs in Brandon Moore and Devious Chrisman, along with standout defensive backs Vontae Bates and Kalen Warren. And you lose your leading tackler in Jacoby Griffin with 106 tackles there. Man, you got to go a little next man up this next year, don't you?
Yeah, that's what we got to do. And what was great is we had those guys with phenomenal leadership, and they had some backups that they were so dominating at times this year. We were able to get some glimpses of those younger guys that are going to step up and fill those roles. Returning Marquise Taylor, signing a couple transfers, and then being able to get Jacius Clark back out there. Who was a man child on special teams. These guys are hungry. They're ready to go. Those younger guys, but I'd be remiss to say that it's going to be hard to replace the talent that we had defensively. I believe we had one of the best defenses in the country. And it goes to show our defensive coordinator, Chris Springer, is a phenomenal football mind. I had to stop a lot of people from poaching him away from us. He's very good, but he's also our recruiting coordinator. So I feel fairly confident we'll be able to fill those holes and come back even stronger next year.
You mentioned AFCA and all that goes on there. I remember it was the first off season after our when we really first got going after that Morningside Benedictine national championship, and Brent Dearman's one of the first guys that we have on the show. If you go flipping back through the archives there, and about a month later, Les Miles says, "I want you to come with me to Kansas," and I remember being so shook there that I went back and listened to the whole interview trying to figure out if he knew he was leaving or not. Um, and then you step in, you've gotten the team rallied around you. So I'm curious. Now that you're looking back, you will be 5 years in. You've pretty much, there might be a couple of these COVID super seniors that still played for Dearman, but for the most part, you've got the entire roster. Um, did you feel like it was your team from day one, or has it kind of been a process to switch over?
I think more so from a staff standpoint. I think it was not so much my staff starting out, but I loved who I worked with. I was on that staff as the assistant head coach, defensive line coach, strength and conditioning coordinator. Me and Coach Springer and Coach Kincaid had been back at Bethel since 2016, so we were retained. A lot of those guys on that 2018 team we had signed. They were already in place. So Brent came in and revitalized that place, kind of laid a blueprint, he set the world on fire, so to speak, with his RPO at the time. So it was phenomenal. He kind of, and I learned a lot from him. I think it was perfect timing in my career to link up with Brent and kind of take some nuggets from him and learn, how to kind of mold. He had been under Gus Malzahn. He had been under Raymond Monica, who's a phenomenal coach at the Division II level and has been at the FCS and all kind of levels. So, me coming from the NFL, being around great coaches, but being there as a player, I didn't quite have that view of things. But it was our team, and that's how I still feel. I don't, it's our football team. It's this entire staff's team. I can't do anything on my own, and I don't think any football coach can. So it's our team. It's the kids that we've been signing here and the foundation we've been laying since 2016, and we finally turned that corner in 2018. But as you can see, we had to reload it in 2019, and I had some I had a learning curve myself, and so did some of my assistant coaches stepping into new roles. But I think now we've got the right guys leading each position group. I love my staff. I love it. We're more like brothers than we are, coworkers. We hang out all the time. Our families kick it. So I do. I feel really well. I feel good about our program, where we're headed, what we stand on, our culture. Our culture was just phenomenal this year. And it's like I told the guys last night, your standard stays the same, but your culture changes and has the ability to change daily. So this is a brand new football team. But like I said, the way we were at AFCA, the way those guys were already on the field working on their own, the looks in their eyes during our team meeting last night, understanding the standard and the expectations, I feel pretty good moving forward.
Just looking back at it, there's some strange mirror image of that 2018 team. First game against Reinhardt. It's a close game. You play at Georgetown and at Lindsey Wilson. You go 10-0 in the regular season. It's like deja vu all over again. I didn't realize it was that similar between the 2 years until I just looked at it.
Yeah, it was. It was very close, and we kind of. That's what was funny. Some of the guys that were here on staff in 2018, we kept looking back like, hey, it has that feeling, even down to the playoff game. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was the last second play against Baker. Baker came back on us, um, and it came down to I think a 1 yard play that kind of finished it. We punch it in against Baker, we win that game. At the end there, as the clock expires, and I feel like if we punch it in on the 1 yard line, going towards the north end zone, that maybe, I don't think Kaiser lays down, but I think it's far enough out of reach in the fourth quarter where we win that ball game. So, very eerie similarities there between the two seasons.
Wasn't going to mention the first round exit in 2018 either. I was going to gloss over that one, but you know. All right, Coach. I'm going to give you a magic wand, and I'm going to let you make changes. And I know there may have been some changes last week that I don't know about yet at AFCA. So if you like those changes, you can just, you know, you can just reveal those, and I won't be any the wiser. I'm going to give you a magic wand and let you make changes to how teams qualify for the playoffs. What are you doing to the playoffs and or to how the conferences do tiebreakers and everything to make things better for the league?
To make it better, I mean, I know financially there's not a lot that can be done. I never believed in all the hoopla about that. You got, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to win against whoever's placed in front of you, and that's how the playoffs work. But I think it would be good to see that, the way the selection committee sees the teams, we play who we're seeded to play. It seems like every year there's some sort of wonky switch up, and I get it; it's due to travel and things like that. But I think that would be the only switch up I'd like to see. Um, I'm not too privy on exactly how teams are rated or ranked in the selection committee, but I would love if I had a magic wand to do our rankings based off true strength of schedule. I think that really has to be a true evaluation. Obviously, you win the national championship, you deserve to start off number one. But if some of those teams they lose a game, their schedule is not as strong as somebody else with a one-loss team, but they don't really move. They don't really leave from that top eight. Um, but at the same time, I think it makes our league kind of cool because you got to kind of plan ahead. You got to really try to strategize. Okay, this season you got to win. Obviously you want to win it all, but you want to finish ranked as high as possible so that you can kind of try to hang on to that ranking the following year. As opposed to actually the Raiders saying, okay, kind of similar to the BCS Raiders selection committee, that strength of schedule really matters. TCU, playing for a national championship obviously didn't turn out how we all how it should be expected, but they had an opportunity because their strength of schedule and the fact that they were winning all went into account. I would have loved to see the NAI not count NCAA losses against the team. I don't think that's fair. Obviously, financially, we need those games. And I think a lot of coaches shy away from playing stronger schedules, more competitive schedules, and financially benefiting from those guarantee games out of fear of not being able to make the playoffs. And I just don't think that should be the case. Our schools are smaller and they can really benefit from those financial blessings playing those bigger schools. And I honestly think some of our teams, those Morningsides or Northwesterns, I think, us, Lindsey Wilson, I think we could compete against a lot of top teams as well, or higher division teams, higher level teams. So I'd like to see that taken account. I think we're headed in that direction. Some of the things that were discussed at the AFCA convention really have me excited. One of those things is the talk of expanding our playoffs. I think if that happens and it not being, based off of, your loss, I think some of those teams will say, hey, I can afford to play an FCS opponent and benefit my program and my institution. Because if that's one of my three losses, I still, finish in the top 20 or whatever it is, expand it to, then I still have opportunity to play for a championship. I just hope that in the future we get away from that old way of thinking. You know what I mean? And really actually evaluate. And I use Kaiser as the perfect example. And I'm hoping that their run to a national title. I know they ran out of juice at the end, but think about their schedule. 3 NCAA opponents on the road, coming to number 4 on the road, going to number 1 on the road. You know what I'm saying? Their entire road schedule was insane on top of playing St. Thomas, who, there's a lot of controversy there. Phenomenal football program, right? So I'm just hoping that we are moving in a direction where we can put a more competitive product out there by expanding our playoffs, getting ahead of the curve. I think that's where college football is going. It works in high school. It works, NAI. It works. I think FBS is about to go that way and expanding. So expanding our playoffs to include more teams, I think is good. So I know that's a big magic wand, but that's kind of how I feel about it and where we could go as far as NAI is concerned to be better.
And honestly, that's where I kind of think like having a unified rating system like SP Plus that just started their NAI rankings this year, and they finally finished the gamut of having FBS, FCS, D2, NAI, and D3 all in the same kind of ranking. Now, if we can just convince them to kind of be able to kind of slot teams in and the divisions against each other a little bit, maybe we can kind of get a better idea of of St. Thomas's close loss to Butler, I believe it was. That St. Thomas misses a field goal at the end of the game to win that one against Butler. Or Kaiser playing an actual honest to God FCS school that's, no disrespect to the Pioneer teams, but there's a little bit of a difference between Lindenwood and someone like a Stetson or a Jacksonville State.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, sorry, Jacksonville State. Jacksonville. I always get those confused.
Yeah.
I shouldn't sing that one beat my Seminoles, and caused me much embarrassment. I should not forget Jacksonville State, like our DBs did at Florida State. Oh dear. But there's a difference there in how those teams are, and I think that you could almost look. In my poll, I ranked St. Thomas's loss against Butler, as close as it was, as effectively the same as a win. It was that close against Butler. We've got to get better at being able to slot where these teams are in the hierarchy of things, and I think if we are able to do that, it will make life easier for teams that do decide to go out and play up.
I agree. Yeah, there's got to be a better level of discernment when it comes to slotting the teams. And I think something that will help with expanding the playoffs is maybe, you know, in the NAI playing, different conferences, the tougher teams. I'd love to play, and I'm not trying to make a knock at them, but, I've always longed to play Morningside. Maybe that's because I knew it would probably be in a national championship. But I think it would be so cool because Coach Ryan's one of the greatest coaches. Like, I love when Coach Cronin was here because I learned so much playing against Bill Cronin. He's a legendary football coach. It was better for me. I yearn for that level of competition. I get to play against Chris Oliver every year. Phenomenal. I'd love to go play Matt McCarty. I have a great deal of respect for him and his program. It's only going to make us better. And I think it would be cool. I think there would be more opportunities for those crossover games if we were to expand the play. I think, not saying that those guys are scared to do. I know they have full conferences and things like that, but maybe that 11th game could be, us versus them, type of deal. So.
Yeah, open it up. I know it's hard. I've started thinking about this time of year you get the fun stuff like the ACC Big Ten basketball tournament. Man, let's go week 0. Let's find two conferences who can clear their week 0 and that are regionally relevant. And let's schedule them up against each other and let's go. Let's have some fun with it.
I love it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm trying to schedule a game now. I'm gonna reach out to Bethel, Kansas, because I'd love to do a battle for the Hog, the House of God. That's what Bethel stands for. I'll pay for a trophy if they're down to schedule a game.
You're talking my language right there. I love a good trophy game. Any excuse I can find to make a trophy game, I am all for it. I'm sure Coach Stokes would be down for that. So we know that if we're not improving, we're falling behind. like I've said before, it don't matter what area of life you're in. That's just the nature of life. So, what area of your program, whether it be on the field with your team specifically, or off the field with your program in general, are you looking to really focus on and improve in 23?
In 23, I think we're on a good trajectory. We're trying to stay on that continuum of developing our culture and our young men. I think that's the first and foremost. So I'm really excited about our manhood program going forth on Monday night. So we're doing everything this year. We're switching it up. It used to be solely faith based and building young men in a Christ-like manner, which we're going to continue to do. But we're bringing the Tennessee Department of Health out to do a mental health certification for all of our players. We're going as far as etiquette training. I grew. Some of these young men are like me; they grew up without a father, so we're going to learn how to tie a tie together. We're going to learn where the fork goes, how to pass the salt and pepper. We're going to have people come out and talk about our sports management department is phenomenal here, but they're going to come out and teach these guys how to secure internships the right way, and we're going to do some things like that. So I think off the field, that's what I'm most excited about, growing not only the kids, myself, but I think it's going to benefit our program and make sure these kids leave, or these young men leave, better than when they came in. Offensively, I want to run the ball. I love to run the ball. Jay Bright, our offensive coordinator, played at Cumberland's under Coach Bland, loves to run the ball. So I'd love to be able to run the ball a lot more. And so that's a little tidbit for anybody that's about to play us. But I don't understand that we had 8 in the box all year long, and we couldn't run the ball the way I wanted to. So maybe that's why Waco threw for a lot of yards. Defensively, I want to stay on track. Just keep doing what we're doing. I think defensively, we're pretty phenomenal in the way we do things and in the manner that we operate. So defensively, we just got to fill the holes and keep plugging, keep trucking along, and as a whole, as a program, is just finish. We got to learn how to finish better. I think if we finish Kaiser, who knows what happens this year. So I know that season's over with. So that's going to be a huge strain, being committed to finish and everything we do on and off the field.
Well, Coach, it's always a whole lot of fun and an honor to chat with you. And look, I'm looking forward to watching some Mid South football. I know the Mid States Mid East gets a whole lot of love for being real stacked, but there's nothing that gets me more excited than seeing those great games, especially when you've got 3 or 4 teams out of the Mid South that are really going at it, playing hard nosed, Southern style football, as it were.
Love it. You got to love it.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the NAIAF Ball Podcast presented by AdCraft USA. Be sure to contact them for all your custom apparel, merch, and uniform needs. Thanks also to Leading Edge Fundraising for their support of the podcast. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to the podcast as well as to our YouTube channel. Leave us a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. As always, if you'd like to support what we do, head over to patreon.com/NAIAFBALL and become a patron. We can't do what we do without our sponsors and listeners like you.